Today we're going to be talking about SpiraTeam from INflectra, discussing what it does, its functionality, and its benefits. So in a product in Spira, you have this dashboard view. The dashboard comes in three flavors: general, development, and testing. This is the general view that covers items from both the other two views mostly, and is good for a general project manager. Development view will be someone who's a DevOps manager, focusing more on builds and pipelines. QA manager, quality engineering manager, they'll be looking more at the testing view. So what you'll see will be things like we've got a risk summary. So we can see right here at the top, what are open risks on our risk queue. We can see our risk register. We think risks are really important. It's really important to understand what are the risks in the system, because that can drive new backlog items. It can also identify risks associated with your backlog items. So it's really important to have that at the top. We're then tracking project progress. These widgets here, where we see the completion, that's showing you the completion of the active work in the active releases and active sprints. So for example, here you can see we're 30% complete, and that comes from this section here, where you can see by release, each of my different active releases and sprints, you can see what's the percentage complete for each one and what's the time lapse. So in real life, what you're going to be able to do here is see for every release, you can see, are we ahead, are we behind, and what's the progress? And you can filter it down to say, I just want to see a certain release, or I just want to see a certain sprint. And when you do that, it's going to limit the information to just that one release or just that one sprint. And you have the exact same metrics now, but only for that particular sprint. And here you can see if I chose a release, this particular release has different sprints in that release, and you can see what's the percentage complete and the schedule for those different sprints. As you scroll down, you'll see other metrics like requirements coverage. Do all of my features have coverage for test cases? What's my testing looking like? I've got a lot of failures, a lot of block tests. I've got a whole bunch of tests that haven't been written, and a bunch that haven't been run. That'll be a problem. I've got my burn down charts, burn up charts, velocity, and you can add different graphs to this dashboard. This is just the default view. You can also see task burn down, and there's a Gantt chart view. We can see on a timeline what's going on, what's the different sprints, and what's my release schedule, and what's my percentage complete. As again, we only have a little bit of time today to show you a taste of what we have available. In Spira, we have support for different methodologies. So if you go into, say, the requirements section, this is one of the views we have of requirements. This will be your backlog view. You can see all of the user stories, the features, the epics. You can see them all in a parent-child hierarchy. That's built-in functionality. Doesn't require any plugins for that. You can see right here what's the coverage. What's the testing that's been done on each of these different features and stories. You've got the inline graphs right here. You can also see any of the tasks. So in Spira, we have what are called tasks. They're a bit like Jira subtasks. So if I was to look at a specific story slash, this is a feature actually, but imagine it could be a story as well. If you go into it, you would see this is the item. These are all the different fields we have. We've now got artifact tags. So we've got tag fields, just like in Elastic, just like Jira. We've got the ability to have followers, which is like a watch. You can add people. You can just simply go here and say subscribe. You can add a follower. We do also have, not going to show it today, but we do also have integration with ChatGPT. So I can take a requirement or use a story, and I can generate automatically my tests, my tasks, my scenarios, and my risks. That's part of our AI functionality. And here you've got the detailed information. You've got the description of that particular story. You've got things like tags. You've got some user-defined fields like industry, classification, and so on. And then from this one item, you can see right here at a glance, what are the test cases that go with it? These could be manual tests, exploratory tests, automated tests, load tests, security, all of that stuff. You can see all here in real time. And when this all goes green, there's automation built in that can move that particular story from one status to the next. You've also got the ability to track development subtasks, which we call tasks, and those are available right here. So that way you can break up this one requirement into different actual tasks and assign those to different developers and track the progress. And they can see it both in boards and grids and filter on it. And of course, when things happen, when changes are made, there is an audit trail. There is also the traceability from this one requirement all the way to other parts of the system. So I can see from this one requirement any of the defects that we've ever had from it. So if this feature has a lot of defects on the dashboard, I can drill down and see, why are there so many defects? Is there one root cause we should be fixing, or is it just unrelated issues? But you can see all the defects right here. You can see all of the releases this particular feature is available in. You can see, and you can filter this, of course. You can see all the risks we've identified with this one feature. In fact, we've just found a critical security risk. That's a big issue we should worry about. We can also see any of the code commits that are linked to this particular requirement, and we can also see any builds. So this will be a CI build. So you can track, where is this feature? Is this feature being built in a development branch? Is it being built in a feature branch? Is it being built on main? How is it being deployed? So not only can you track this feature, what's been tested, what's been developed, You can track, has it been deployed yet? All of that from a single place. And if you click on these links, they will drill you down into the appropriate part of the system. So if I control click on it, hopefully that Zoom's right in the way. Let me just hide the uh, hide the controls. If you go over here, you can see that commit, and if you click on one of the files, you can see exactly what files have changed. So we have that ability to see inline in the system all of the code changes and what's tied back to that one feature. So that's some of the functionality on the feature side. You can also see the same information in different views. So if you go here, you could see, for example, we've got a document view of these requirements. So if you're working in a more traditional manufacturing, hardware, waterfall, V model type of environment, you can see all of these requirements and stories and features in a requirements and virtual document. So that way you don't need a separate requirements management system. You can actually use Spiro to do that for you. If you're working on a more agile project, you can see the same information in a board view. And these are our brand new boards we just released, which allow you to see not only the feature cards, you can also see the test coverage and the task progress right here on the main board. If you hover the mouse over, you can see the tooltip will show you the progress of the tasks, the test coverage. Each of the individual tests is linked. You can see it right here. So you have a board view that gives you the exact same information that we saw on that grid as well. Nice thing is that we do support different approaches. You can track in story points, in hours, depending on your methodology. You can set that setting in the system. For Kanban products, we can also view the work in progress limits as well. And we also do have a task board for those who want to be able to track subtasks. So you can track the subtasks and see those tied back to the stories. So we have these different boards all built into the system. Again, fully integrated, different views of the same information. So I could see these tasks, but if I'm working on a waterfall project, I might want to see the tasks in a Gantt chart. No problem. Exactly the same information and now available in a Gantt chart. If I could just expand it down like that. And all these views do have inline editing, of course. So let's go back to the requirements. We also do, I should mention, have a mind map view. So if you are doing any kind of traceability analysis, you can see it graphically. You see all the links in the system. You can trace the links from the initial feature all the way down to the user stories and epics and features and so on. And the color coding is basically the priority. And again, inline editable, not just pre-diagram, but fully functionality. So that's some of the functionality in the requirements section. We also do have a built-in document management system, which can handle, first of all, when you attach documents to a requirement, it gets attached here. We do have versioning of the documents. We have check-in, check-out. So it acts as a document management repository. It can also integrate with source code repositories as well to do that. We track the different versions of the document. We can have different workflows. You can lock documents at different stages. You can have reviews. And you can also natively edit content in the system. So if you're using something like Confluence and you want to be able to write wiki pages, we can do that as well. We've got the ability to support rich text, which is great for people who don't want to learn, wiki text markup. But we also do support creating things in Markdown as well. So you can use either rich text or Markdown, whatever you prefer. And we also do have diagram editing as well. So if you want to create diagrams, we can create diagrams using the built-in diagram editor. We can do workflow diagrams. We can do mind maps. We can do org charts, so different flavors of diagram. And we've also got, here's the Markdown example. And then we also do have a spreadsheet editor as well. So if you are going to do any kind of data-driven analysis, you could decide to do that directly in Spiro using our spreadsheet editor. So these are just some rich content editing functions that are built into the tool, don't require plugins. And then let's move into the QA side of things. So SpiraTeam and SpiraPlan do build off the Spira test management tool. So we have that foundation already available. So you don't need to have an X-ray or a Zephyr or a Zephyr scale or anything else fully built into Spira. We do have this built-in test management tool. These test cases you see here were actually generated automatically by ChatGPT. So that's why there's so many in the root. So it's pretty cool that it can do that. But you can manage all your functional tests, exploratory tests. All of that's managed here in the system. They get organized into test case folders. Each of the test cases will come with the name, the description. So this is the test case. This is the description, preconditions, postconditions. These are the detailed steps for manual testing. We can do data-driven testing with parameters. We can also do automated testing right here. And we can link to existing test scripts. If you've got a Cypress test or a Playwright test or a Selenium test, you can integrate it right here. If you haven't got test automation, Rapise is a fully bundled option you can add to Spira, which is really easy to use and natively integrated. And then, of course, you've also got the ability to do exploratory testing as well using our Spira Capture add-on. So that's how you would build out your test repository. We spend a lot more time on that. couple of key things to mention. When you write the test cases, you can link them back to your requirements. So you can always see the coverage. What does this one test cover? If this one test fails, it's going to break all these features. And if someone was to change one of these features, let's say the spec got changed for one of our user stories or requirements, we might want to know that this test case needs to be checked and make sure it fully covers it. So there's no gap in functionality, no gap in coverage. We do have this built-in suspect feature. That suspect flag will get set automatically if a dependent requirement changes as well. And from this one test case, I could, of course, see all the defects that have been logged during any test event. And I can see all the test runs of this test case. And they could be manual tests or they could be automated tests. And you can easily choose between them right here. From a test scheduling standpoint, we have the test set functionality. These are our test suites. This lets you schedule the test cases both from a manual standpoint by assigning to different testers or testing teams, and it also lets you assign them to automation. So if you are doing automated testing, you can either schedule it through your pipeline tool, and then the results come back into Spira automatically on the pipeline. You can also schedule them directly in Spira, or even a combination of the two. We have several customers that will, for example, want to have their smoke test run every CI event. Every pipeline runs takes maybe 10 minutes. That runs every event. And then depending on what fails in that particular set of smoke tests, they might then want to run a more deeper test that will go, it takes maybe 20, 30, 40 minutes to run, but they don't want to run that unless there's a smoke test failure. So that way you can use your pipeline to run the smoke test and then use our built-in scheduling to do the deeper analytical test as well. So really up to you. You can either schedule things directly in Spira or use the pipeline to do that. And that's all controlled right here in the test set. You choose the type of test. If it's automated or manual, you choose when you want it to run. If you're going to have us schedule it, you can choose the recurrent schedule and the dates. If, on the other hand, you want to let the pipeline do it, like ADO or GitHub or GitLab or Jenkins or TeamCity or any of the other ones we integrate with, you can do it right here. And if you are using Atlassian's Bamboo on-premise build server, we do actually support that as well. So that's another option. So that's some of the testing functionality. When you run the tests, they fail. Those do log, unfortunately, I guess for you, defects. Then we fix them, which is then good. And so we have a built-in defect tracking. We've got defect tracking boards that look like this. So you can track all the issues, track them, assign them to different people, manage the workload. You've also got a defect tracking grid, which you can see all the issues, bugs, enhancements, all of that. And when you look at a bug that perhaps has been logged from a test case, the great thing is not only do you get the bug report like this, you also get the traceability. You get the description of what the user did, what happened, where it broke, where the failure happened, and there's exact reproducible steps with test data. So that then when you go back to the developer to figure out, why it broke, and maybe the tester finds it's broken, the developer fixes it, but it's still broken, you've got all this information stored with that defect and the link back to the original requirement, and a link to the test result. So you can see the traceability, you can see exactly why something failed and how it failed, and make sure that there's exact reproducible steps and that you're testing the actual same thing that the developer fixed and vice versa. So it really keeps the team on the same sheet of music at all times. And then the last piece I want to go into today is the risk management functionality. Now, this is only in Spira Plan, it's not in SpiraTeam. We've had a lot of people looking to use this functionality. This functionality can be used for three different reasons. One is sometimes clients just want to be able to do traditional business risk management. They want to understand what are the risks on the project, how do they impact my different features, my different pieces of functionality, and I want to manage those. And so Spira has this built-in risk management module. You can track the probability of a risk, the impact of a risk, and then Spira will automatically capture the exposure for you. And you can then link this risk to different requirements, and you can track mitigations. If they have, let me see if there are any mitigations. Here's a good example. Here's a risk that a .NET library might not support web services. So we've got some mitigations in place to how we would reduce that risk. And as you do that, we can then track the reduction in risk exposure as you add the mitigations, which you can see right here. We reduce the impact from critical to marginal, and the status went from evaluated to an open mitigated risk, and the exposure went down from 15 to 10. The second reason people are using this functionality is they're doing risk-driven development. And that's a methodology where instead of starting with a feature, you actually start with a risk. This is very common in automotive and also becoming more common in life sciences. You start with a hazard, like a person's crossing the road and a self-driving car might crash into them. So that's the risk. And then the functionality would build cameras or LiDAR radar to prevent that happening. And so you start with the risk, then derive your requirements and your stories and your features, and then your test, your tasks, and all that. So then the risk is actually the first thing you do. So it's a different way of doing development, and many industries are using that. So we do have that option as well. And then the third reason people are using the risk management functionality is for risk-based testing, because we can link these risks using the association functionality to specific requirements. We can then take those requirements, link those to the tests, and then we can tell you which of your tests are the most crucial. If you run these 6 tests, you're going to mitigate almost all of your identified project risk. And that's very useful in situations where you don't have time to run all your tests and you have to pick and choose where the risk will be reduced the most by running specific tests. And so the risk management functionality in augmentation with the test and requirements functionality together gives you the ability to make those decisions very easily and say, what do these 5 tests reduce almost all my risk? Let's run these first. And if we run out of time, that might be sufficient. So it lets you take a risk-based approach to quality. So that's the functionality in SpiraPlan and SpiraTeam. Just to mention, I won't have time to go into it in too much detail. Full reporting and analytics are built into Spira. On the SpiraTeam version, you can analyze across all the projects. You've got project level reports, project level graphs, custom reports, custom graphs, standard reports. If you want to do program level reporting, then you would need the SpiraPlan edition. Thanks so much for attending, everyone.